Marisha here, and today I'm taking a break from my usual content to talk about a cause that I feel strongly about, and that is donating blood. Now, I come from a blood giving family. Both of my parents were huge blood donors, and that's how I got into it. I started donating at the age of 17, which is the minimum age in the US and also the minimum age in the UK. I've been giving ever since when I can, including even once when I was in Cambodia. Um, and so when I moved here, I sort of didn't really think about it because I was obviously focused on my studies and getting acquainted with a new country, etc. And then I saw a front page story in the Metro about how the NHS was like really low on blood, and they were just like, begging people, please give your blood. And then I thought, wait a minute, yeah, that's something that I used to do all the time in the States. There's probably nothing keeping me from doing it here. Let me check. So I went to the NHS website and filled out the forms, whatever, and went and donated blood. And I've been donating blood here ever since when I can. The last time that I went, I was low on iron, but this time I was okay. And they had actually a different test that is more accurate. So that helped, I think. Um, Giving blood is, I think, one of the easiest ways to like do good in your community. Lots of people need blood at some point in their life. I think the statistic is like 1 in 4 people will need like a blood transfusion at some point in their life. Um, and when you go, like, it doesn't cost you anything except some of your time and a pint of your blood, which you're fine without. Your body will build that back up in no time. So you go, and if you're not familiar with giving blood, this is kind of what the process is. You'll have to sign up probably online, make an appointment. If you are in the UK, you can do that. It's through the NHS, and you can do that at blood.co.uk. If you're in the US, then it is, I think it's Red Cross Blood. Yeah, redcrossblood.org to make an appointment. Also, I know at least in the States, most of the places where I live, there were frequently blood drives at places of work, and you would see advertisements for it. So keep your eyes out for that. Then you might be able to just walk in, but generally speaking, you need to make an appointment. And then there will be, in the UK, there will be some questions that you'll have to ask or answer online the very first time you'll register an account online. And then every time that you go, whether it's the US or the UK, there will be a form with questions for you to fill out. And it's the same questions. And yes, every time you go, you have to answer the same questions because they're asking about what have you been doing since the last time that you gave blood. And they're questions about, like, have you been sick? Have you had any surgeries? Have you done drugs? Like, anything that might be risky for the health of your blood or your health in giving blood. So you'll fill out a questionnaire, and then a phlebotomist will take you to like a private area and go over some of the questions with you. They'll prick your finger. I remember once in the US, and I don't know if they still do this, but they used to prick your earlobe actually. But they'll prick your finger and test your blood for hemoglobin to make sure that you have enough iron. Um, and then, if that's all good, they'll take you to a chair that's set up for you to donate. And then the process is, obviously they put a needle in you, and then you start to basically sort of pump blood out until you fill your pint bag. And then they take the needle out, bandage you up, give you some advice of like how long do you need to keep the bandage on, etc. And then they either, in the US, most of the times when I donated, they would walk you to a station where you would sit down and you would have like a cookie and some orange juice or something to sort of like get your strength back up and try to help you not pass out. In the UK, you just stay in your chair and they will bring you some squash and like chips or sorry, crisps or chocolate or something. And then after you've sat for like a few minutes just to make sure that you're okay, you're not lightheaded, then you're on your merry way. And I would say that for most people, the whole process is probably no more than half an hour. Um, I went today and I was definitely out within half an hour easy. It does depend on how your blood flows, how quickly you fill your pint bag. I'm a pretty good filler. I'm pretty quick. Um, but yeah, I think even if you're kind of on the slower side of things, it's still probably only half an hour. So it is something that you could even do on your lunch hour. Now, um, the reasons why people might not want to give blood, besides the fact that they maybe know they're not qualified, right? Like if you're shooting up heroin, like obviously you can't. There are different ways when you wouldn't be eligible, but people who are eligible, I think sometimes make excuses of not wanting to give blood. They think they don't want to spend the time, but like I said, literally it takes like half an hour of your time. You could do it on your lunch hour. And I know in the UK, and if I remember correctly, it's probably true in the US, um, there are lots of appointment times, morning into evening and on the weekends. So it really is easy to find a slot to do this. And if you're thinking of it as like this is a donation as like charity work, think about like, okay, well, what if I was going to do volunteer work somewhere, and view it as volunteer work if you're talking about like how you want to spend your time. The other major argument is like a fear of needles. And I will say that I'm not a big fan of needles. I'm not deathly afraid of them the way that I think maybe some people are. But I think I'm going to sound judgy here, but like you kind of need to get over it. um because if you're in a medical situation where you have to have a needle put in you, like you have to have a needle put in you. So this is a way to sort of kind of maybe get over that. And you don't have to look. I don't look, right? Like I'm a little bit like about having needles stuck in me. So I always look away when they're putting the needle in. And then I'm fine, right? You can feel like a little pinch of it kind of going in. And then you just don't look at it. You can look up at the ceiling or over at someone else who's giving blood or posters that they have on the wall or whatever. And then when you're done, the nurse will come over and they put like a gauze on the wound before they pull like the needle out. Again, just don't look. And then it's covered up. You don't even have to see the puncture mark if you don't want to, right? And then they'll bandage you up and send you on your way. So I think that it doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you very much time. It's such an easy, simple thing to do to give back. And it's something that, like, blood banks are always desperate for blood, right? Because I think a lot of people don't think about giving blood. They think about like giving money to charities because you can easily set up a direct debit and then you don't even have to think about it. Like, oh, I know I give 10 pounds every month to this charity. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. Like that's great. Or maybe or some people might volunteer their time somewhere, but I think because blood donation, you can only do it like every 3 or 4 months because obviously you have to give your body time to build that blood back up. I think it's easy for a lot of people to just sort of not really think of it as a way of giving back for those reasons. But again, it's such a simple way to like help people. And honestly, your blood can save multiple lives because they can also separate out the plasma and like use that separate from like the platelets and stuff. And so you're potentially saving multiple lives with your one donation. And you can donate, yeah, like I said, I think like 3 or 4 times a year. And, over the course of your lifetime, my parents, the Red Cross used to give out little pins for when you hit certain milestones of how much you had like donated over the course of your life. And my parents have like all of these pins of like like gallons, like they've given gallons of blood over the course of their life. And you just think about like how many people did that save, right? At really no cost to my parents, right? At no cost to the donor, except a little bit of time, maybe a little bit of discomfort if you're a little squeamish around needles, but like you can get over it. And like the nurses, the phlebotomists are always really nice. And again, you get a free snack and like and a drink too. And then usually you also get a sticker that says be nice to me, I gave blood today. And so if you're this sort of person who wants to try to like show that off and get like special treatment from people, go for it. But I really since I've been here, I've seen other headlines besides the first one that I saw of the NHS just asking people like, we're really low on blood. Please consider donating blood. And I know that the Red Cross, it's the same. And especially anytime you have like a big disaster, right? You think about like what's happening in Jamaica right now. There are going to be people there who have been injured in that storm and that hurricane who are going to need blood transfusions. Um, and I don't know if the Red Cross is able to like transport blood across borders. But certainly in both the UK and the US, there are plenty of times, natural disasters, obviously accidents, all sorts of things that where people will require blood, and like you taking half an hour out of your day once every 3 months can save somebody's life. So please, please, if you're in the US, go to the Red Cross website. If you're in the UK, go to the NHS website, get yourself registered, make an appointment to give blood. Like, subscribe, tell your friends how gnarly this channel is, and I'll see you next time.